Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. I am your host, Mary Ann Dersch. I work with nonprofit leaders to grow their influence. And by influence, I mean getting people you have no authority over to do what you want them to do. And I know there's a lot of people in our lives that we need to get them to do stuff. And I teach them the art of influence so they can raise more money and get more from their board and generally get more from themselves and everyone else around them. And welcome. And I am welcoming a dear friend. We've known each other a long time. Kathy Lambert from Connections to Success, which you were there for 23 years. You ran that organization.
That's it. Yes.
And now has started with her husband, KBL Impact Partners, and they're doing some really cool work. And I thought I would come on and sort of share your nonprofit experiences of growing an organization and now growing this business to serve nonprofits. So I always start with the same question, which is, tell me something that you're proud of that you never get to brag about very often. So what's something?
Something that I'm really proud of. I would say that something that I'm really proud of is sticking to the nonprofit for 23 years. And so many times, and I really do mean that.
Like, how many times did you want to run screaming?
I did, because it's hard work and nobody really knows until they're actually in it. And I had no idea when I started. So I'm really proud that I stuck it out 23 years.
No kidding.
That's something that I'm really proud of, because I could have quit. There's so many times I just thought, I just got to throw the towel in. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And that just has been the biggest thing. I think that because I didn't quit, because I stuck with it, there's so many hundreds, thousands of families in St. Louis and across over in Kansas City. Their lives have been changed, and their children. And that to me has been the biggest blessing. Yeah. So it's worth it to stick out those 23 years to be able to see those lives changed. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. I mean, what a legacy, what a legacy that you left.
Well, thank you.
I
had a lot of help.
Yeah. Cause I was going to say, how hard was it to let go?
Was really hard. I mean, for 23 years, that as many nonprofit leaders know that, and especially I think founders, it's your life. And it's not 8 to 5. You're driven by a mission, by a calling. And so for 23 years, Connections to Success has been my life, my community, my church, it's been everything. So to transition to now to do something different, it's taken me a while, and I'm probably still not all the way there, because I have times that it hits me like, oh, I miss everyone. But I think it's been hard. It's a hard transition. Plus, I've learned a lot about myself. I was going at such a fast pace that I didn't even realize how fast I was going.
Yeah.
So when I transitioned, and even though I feel like this sounds crazy, but even during COVID was, I feel like, on steroids almost, because there was so much going on at that time. And it's still in the pandemic. But when I transitioned, it was all of a sudden, my world kind of stopped. And that was a strange feeling. But also it's been a time of reflection for me to really take a look and step back that how and what the pace that I went at. And so slowing down has been a good thing.
Yeah.
Slowing down has been a good thing. But it's hard. It's a hard transition.
It's hard. Yeah. And it's like a baby. It's like a kid, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's just like a kid. Like your child goes off to college or moves out of the house, and you have that hole in your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what I've had, although I'm still connected, which is great. But on the day-to-day basis, right. It's been hard. It's been hard.
So, and because founder syndrome is a thing, right? And so there became a point in time where you're like, okay, this is the time for me to let go, even though it's going to be hard. that you could see that the agency was bigger than you, was, I feel like there's a point where that has to drop in.
Right. Well, and 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago, that's when my husband and I both, had this conversation. He's older than I am and said, I think it's time that I transition. And I thought, well, I can still stay for a couple of years, right? But then as we started talking, our whole goal, and even all along with connections, my goal was to build up leaders. And so I wanted to be able to make sure that we would be an organization, and part of our culture is growing people and growing not only those that we've served, but also within our organization and leaders. So 2 years ago is when we really decided and talked with the board that we wanted to transition by the end of 2020. And not knowing, I am so sorry. That's my stand-up table.
Oh.
And all of a sudden it's going up.
Time to stand up, Gabby.
I know that is just wildest thing. It has its own little.
So real life happens on this podcast.
Okay, well, people are going to see a real life thing happen. It's like my desk has its own mind.
I'm like, that's pretty crazy. Like, what's happening here?
I know. So anyway, getting back to, so we decided, and talking with our board, that by the end of 2020 that we wanted to be able to transition. So that's when we started really putting together our succession plan, taking a look at, how and with our leaders that we already had, and really working with our board to see what is that vision, where do they want to see the organization go as well, and how we can put that plan together. But then the best laid plans can go out the window.
Yeah, right.
COVID happened.
Right, COVID happened. Mm-hmm.
So I think, which is everybody's story. So we put everything then on hold, and recognizing, Mary Ann, I mean, that was really tough. With COVID, we had it impacted our team, their families, impacted the families that we served. People have lost loved ones, and it was really tough. And then with all the social unrest and everything that had happened, I just looked at my husband and I said, because we put everything on hold, and I just said, we have to just start it back up, because this isn't going to go away. We all thought it was going to be done in 2 weeks, and wasn't. So we went ahead and started the process again, and shared with our team that, we're going to just pick it back up, and it's time for new leadership.
Right. Like we were talking about before, life happens. It's always going to happen. And you just gotta, if I said, oh, gotta reschedule everything until the perfect time, there's never a perfect time.
Right.
You can't move a parked car. So
no, you can't.
Put those things into action. Okay. So then you stepped away, and then you two created KBL Impact Partners. And so what is that?
So what we did is we actually didn't really know what we were going to do. We knew that we would do something with nonprofits, but we didn't know what that was. And we took a month and we went to Arizona and had really a time of reflection and just really thinking about what is it that we need to do. And we have been working with a coach as well. And so I think that really helped, helping us to define what our gifts are, our talents, what experiences we've had. And my passion is really to be able to give back to other nonprofit leaders and to be able to help them maybe not go through some of those things that I did that were right. How can I take some of those lessons that I've learned and help others, and to help them help to strengthen and scale their impact, help them to diversify their funding. And I've learned so much on the journey that if we can help individuals that to shorten that time span for them to grow, that's what we want to do. So that's where we decided then to launch off into our own consulting training business and help other nonprofits. So we created a class, 12-week program.
Yeah. So you and I have a lot of the same model as far as how we work.
Yeah.
I don't even call myself a consultant. I'm a coach and trainer because
exactly.
There's a lot of like I don't know. I don't want to get into that, but that just word doesn't fit for me and what I was doing, because I have a program that people enter. Like, you don't hire me like, oh, we like, here's everything that's wrong with us. How, here, how can you fix it? How much would it cost?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's not
No,
really what I do. Like, I have
no,
a program that you enroll in, and you're kind of the same way. And if
right,
there's a trust, like I've done this for many, many years. I know what it takes. Like, I will lead you, because what
right,
I've found is that what people want and what they need are very different things,
right.
and so I would love
And
for
they
you to
don't
share.
know that,
They
right?
don't
They
know
don't
that.
know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, right. And they're not ready to see the need yet. They but and I do address the want, but also there's so much more, right? And that takes your willingness to be open to someone, and to say, yes, okay, lead me, even though I'm not quite sure where we're going. I know you're going to give
Right.
me the outcome that I want. And I feel like I'll let you explain it just 1 second. I just want to say, I feel like this is just such a powerful model, and it's very new to our industry. When I'm like to the nonprofit, which is typically like, hey, I'm a consultant. Hey, you can come
Right.
hire me, and I'm going to do this one-off thing,
Right.
So tell me about the 12-week class.
So, well, and I think I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit too about what you were just talking about,
Mhm.
that I think one of the biggest things that I realized, and I realized this about myself, is just kind of unpacking everything of how did we do this for this long, but how do we go from zero, from nothing, from clothes out of the trunk of my car to no funding to over our budget ended up at the end of 2020 over 4 million, and a lot of it had to do with mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And having that scarcity mindset, right, to going from that to an abundance mindset, and really thinking about that. And I love what you said, because Brad and I have had this conversation about, we're not consultants. We don't want to do consulting. That's not what we do. It's more mentoring. It's more, like you said, coaching. It's really helping them to provide the tools necessary to help them to move forward, but to what's blocking them. So with our class, what we did is, so our coach had asked us, she said, well, how much money have you raised? Well, I hate to say it, we never stopped to add it up, like how much we raised in the 23 years. We thought, well, that's a really good question to ask us. So we added everything up, and we were both shocked. We were like, oh my gosh, it was over $44 million. Now,
Holy cow.
but over 23 years, that's really not a lot of money for 23 years. However, for the size of organization and starting from zero, but this is a wild thing, Marianne. We raised 60% of this in the last 6.5 years. So then we stopped and we thought, okay, what did we do?
Right.
Why did it take us so long, and what shifted? Mm-hmm. So we unpacked all of that, and it was fascinating. And this is what we built our class around. We shifted on, we looked to say, oh my gosh, we took a look at, what do we do? What do we do well? What are we going to double down on? We took a look at that time of, these are some things, like we had a social enterprise of making cookies, sweet success, but it wasn't creating any income. I mean, it was costing us a lot of money, but it was a good program.
Yeah.
But we had to cut it off. So because we took a look at, we said, you know what, we need to stop this. And so then what we did is then we thought, okay, we're really good at our training. We're really good at this program of what we do, of taking people through and helping them to break that cycle. So we thought, we're going to double down. And if we could take our model, which ends up, we're an evidence-based practice. We've gone through 2 different rigorous evaluations on our model. And the first one was in 2010, and the second was in 2017. But the first one helped us then when in 2014, when we took a look at everything, then we said, you know what, we have an evidence-based model. What if we could teach others? And the state of Kansas came to us and said, we want you everywhere. We're like, no, we're small, we can't do that, but we'll teach other people, use other places. So that's how we ended up started replicating, but that's then how it helped us to generate those funds, where we raised more than 60% of our of what we raised in the last 6.5 years. It's by focusing, doubling down, being confident of what it is that we do. It was really also taking a look at our culture, what works, what is working, how can we make our mission, vision, and values come to life and not just sit on a shelf? And what is it that we can do and how can we do that? And then what about connections and partnerships? And how can we have an attitude of partnering, of coming to the table with, how can I serve you?
Absolutely.
And what is the outcome that they want? And then in my head, I would always think, okay, how can I help, for example, like the Department of Corrections, help them with their goal of not having people recidivate and go back? How can I help workforce development? They need more people employed and apprenticeship programs. Okay, how can this model, how can we help to do that? So working with our partners and shifting a mindset. And so many times, I think as a nonprofit, we come from a scarcity mindset. So when coming together to partner, it's kind of like, what's in it for me, right? And so we switched the way how we did things. And so with that, we really came up with, what if we could do a 12-week program? What if we could do a 12-week class? And what if we could do it and break it down with our lessons learned, but really help organizations and helping them to scale their impact, diversify their funding, take a look at where are they? Where are they on that life cycle? And then how can we take them from where they are to that next step? And what does it take to get there?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's really how we developed our 12-week program. And with our 12-week program, it's all action-based. And what I mean by that is that, so let's say week one, they learn some tactics or some strategies. And then that next week they implement. So they have, so it's implementation built into the class. And so we have a private Facebook page. We have a group tracking form. So every Friday by 8:00, they have to go on that group tracking form. And they have all these action steps that they need to take. They decide which ones they're going to do.
Right.
But they have to report out on it. And then they have a video that they do to the group every week. And the video is telling what worked, how much money did they bring in this week, what didn't work, what challenges did they have, and what questions do they have for the group. So there's that peer learning.
Yeah.
And it's been such a great process, but it's pretty intense. I mean, it's intense. They all set a goal, a financial goal of where they are and like what they want to raise within the 12 weeks. And really what happens in the 12 weeks, it's really building that momentum. It's helping them to shift their mindset. We go over, self-limiting beliefs and helping them to shift the way they speak, helping them to see their words are powerful, the way they think, the words, helping them to see that they need to be bold and be confident of who they are and the work that they're doing. And then take a look to say, how can you think outside of that box, right? Or how can you step out and do some different things, and to helping them to see their intention. We have this formula, and I got a long time ago from, I think it was Clemmer and Associates, but I love it. It's intention plus mechanism equals 100% result.
Okay, intention plus mechanism
equals 100% of your result. So what percent is intention and what percent is mechanism that will give you your 100% result? What do you think it is?
Oh, I think it's all intention.
You're exactly right. Yes.
But sorry, spoiler, but because one of the my coach teaches me is energy precedes outcomes.
I love that.
And so it's all about the energy with which you enter into something.
Yes, it is.
And the scarcity mindset is the thing that was one of the things that I feel like it's the root of the things that deplete our energy. Right. And then when we come from a place of scarcity, of desperation, of resentment, and that's what we create, that's what we're going to get. Right. So that, so that's what I work on as well, is helping people shift out of that and really connect with their power as a leader And like you said, the language, because words matter, you know, our thoughts create our words create our reality. And so how we speak,
Right.
how we receive people, and that shapes. So I would say, yeah, like, and we all learned in COVID that the mechanism can completely blow up and we
Right.
can still be successful.
Absolutely.
Right? Any plan that you had, any plan that I had blew up. And guess what? We were still, because it was our intention carried. So I love
Right.
that. I love
Right.
that. Mhm.
Right. That's exactly it. And I think also with that energy that you're talking about and the work that you're doing and what we've been doing is that when you get a group together in a cohort model, that where they're learning from each other, but that creates that energy even for that group.
Yep.
And so even if they set this goal and they have a lofty goal, then throughout the 12 weeks, that even if they don't make that goal, that energy has been created for them to just continue to soar on. So it's really, we've only done 3 cohorts right now, but out of the 3,
let's start again. We've done 3 cohorts. We've done 3.
We've done 3. Okay, I'm going to feel very confident. So we've done 3 cohorts.
3.
Yay!
Yeah.
Since July. And so we've worked with 14 organizations in total. Out of the 14 organizations, now this is aggregate, all of them together, but they've raised over $1 million in 12 weeks. So some it was 25,000, others it was a lot more. But what I love is that so many of them for the first time said, I never thought that I could do this. And I mean, Marianne, it's exactly what you said. It's shifting.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
It is 100% for me. It is a beautiful thing to witness. And like, I love at the end of because I do a 6-week thing, and I love at the end of my 6 weeks, the last moment of the last class, and no one wants to hit the end button because on the Zoom, because no one wants it to end. And that I create something that like people don't want to end, you know, because, right. And so so after my 6 weeks, then if anybody who wants to, I have a year program where we work on creating more mastery. Do you have something that people do after the 12 weeks?
So that's what I'm trying to figure out what to do next. So
let's talk about it.
This 12-week class. and so I had this experience yesterday, which was really kind of wild. So we did our master class. And so we were done like 10 minutes early and people were asking questions. And then there was like 5 minutes to go. And it was so funny. Like all of them stayed on the whole time. And they were just like this, like, okay, like, give me more. And it was so funny. It was kind of like, well, I didn't know what else to do. It was so, but I think, excuse me. But I think that what I've learned, and even these 3 classes, Marianne, these 3 cohorts that we've been doing, I've learned that I do have the confidence. My confidence has increased. Even though I did nonprofit work for 23 years, I myself still had to think, okay, do I really know something? And so, I mean, I had to work on the imposter syndrome. I had to work on those myself.
Right.
And so I feel like that.
It's like, who do you think you are?
Yes.
You know, how dare you, that voice in your head that's like, who do you think you are to lead these people? Who do you think you are? And you do have to like navigate that.
Right. Yeah. And so I feel like I've had to grow as well, and I'm continuing to grow, and we never stop growing. And so that's where, I don't know, I'm excited. I don't know what's next. And so we're brainstorming on what to do, like a year-long program. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Not quite sure. I'll pick your brain. I need to pick your brain.
Absolutely. I can totally help you with that. And so what do you feel like is the big takeaway for the folks? Is it the shift in the mindset? The people who come through, how are they different than when they started?
I think the biggest change is a shift in the mindset. And when they shifted and were focused, and I think that's the other piece of it, I think the focus, so shifting their mindset, and then they really focused. They focused on the school. And as a nonprofit leader, we all know you get pulled in a million different directions. But what I think this helped them is that they had a tool to use to help them to keep focused. And then they had a peer group that helped support them. And I think that's huge to have that support group and that peer group. Just like with creating that year program you're talking about, actually my wheels now are turning because I think that's so key, right? That's that key component. In fact, I had 2 people yesterday from our very first cohort from July contact me to say, are you doing another class soon? So I'm thinking, okay, do they really want to repeat it? Or is it that they need something else?
They're ready for the next level of ascension.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And again, that's what I love about this model that we create is it's, taking people on a journey. And what I'm feeling from you is as long as they're willing, like that there's more that they could go on. And what I love about what I do in the model that I created is when I started my business, I knew I did not want to write any more proposals or plans. That was like, and I'm not dismissing 16 years because I was at 501 Creative and it's an amazing company. And, and also I'm like, all right, I'm going to just take what I really love about my work and create a business around that, kind of let the stuff I didn't like so much, let that go.
Right.
And so like you we had a, like, where, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? What feels energy rich to me? And then after COVID hit, all the work that I was doing, I was helping organizations more on a B2B sort of organizational level with their messaging. And then when COVID hit, that all paused. And I thought, what if I could teach people what I actually wanted them to know?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to reverse engineer it into because if you're not communicating effectively internally, you're not going to be communicating effectively externally. So how can I help people create more effective internal communication? Because that's where I saw the true breakdown happening. Right. And the true blocks. And so what if I could do that? And then that was like, okay, well, I'll try that and then see what happens. But it's taking what I know and delivering it instead of doing like hourly work or custom work, which is what I saw like draining people. And what I love about what you said about your cohort, I call it, the group coaching. What I call it is the sacred container. I create a sacred container where you are allowed to cry if you want to express your fears, to share a really, and it's all going to stay in the container. Right. Because there's a lot of times where, especially ED CEOs, there's no place for them to go. They can't complain to the board, can't complain to their staff. Their partner's tired of hearing about it. And so they kind of get stuck. And that's where I found the power was, and of really helping people to this, really helping them to step into their power. And one thing you said earlier that I love was about how our mission, vision, and values are lived. Right. Yeah. And I call that embodiment. So how do we embody our values, and what is, and that's alignment. So who we are and what we do are as close as who we are and what we say we're going to do, what we actually do, that's as close as possible. That's alignment. Right. And that's, so I've been helping people really step into that. And that's been the beautiful. And it's been a really cool thing. So I want to shift a little bit to sort of like, where do you see the industry going? Like, what do you like now? Because you've got people from all over the country, right? I've got people from all over the country. Like, are you seeing any shifts or trends or anything like industry wise?
That's really interesting. What I'm seeing is that, especially funders, and I know you know this as well too, but they love to see collaboration and partnerships. So I think that's going to continue. I also think too with, a lot of the nonprofits, and this is where we got stuck, is on grants and events versus working with donors. Mm-hmm. And really raising, with the donors. So I see that part continuing to grow, and especially with organizations that are like 500,000 budgets to like 2 million, that's really a key component for them. I also see companies and corporations. I see a trend with, as we know right now, with the mass, all of a sudden it went out of my head, resignation, the mass resignation that's going on. Companies are looking for ways and shifting exactly what you're talking about. It's they're taking a look to say, how can we embody more a purpose-driven company?
Yeah, right.
And how can we help employees to have purpose at work, and then helping them to be involved in the community? So I think that there's a real, opportunity for nonprofits right now to really take a look at how do they partner up with companies and corporations, because there's a huge opportunity that's there. If you look at, as you know, with companies, corporations, not only do, I think nonprofits, at least I looked at them as sponsorships, but the more I got involved with them for volunteers, being able to have matching grants and matching gifts that people donate, their employees donate, there's a huge opportunity for that development of those partnerships and collaborations. And also with the next generation. I just had a conversation yesterday with an organization out of New York, and they work with other organizations actually globally. And one of the things we were talking about is that Generation Z, Z-millennials or whatever they're called, I guess. But being able to, what they were sharing with me is that many of them feel like that they've been talking to that they don't have a voice in a company, but they really are passionate about nonprofits, about their community, and about making a difference. So I think that's another group that nonprofits also need to be looking at, is how can you engage that younger generation? How can companies, and it's almost like, I feel like this sounds really kind of a little out there, but I feel like that there's this alignment that is beginning to happen, that with companies, with their employees and this younger generation, and also to be able to do that social good within the community, nonprofits have a wonderful opportunity and to come to the table and to see how they can, because that I think could open up not only funding, but it can help scale their impact of people that they serve, or if they, whatever it is that they serve, if it's not people, if it's animals, or whatever it is that they do, it will help them to scale their impact. So that's kind of some of the things that I've lately have been really taking a look at and seeing. And I think that the other thing is for nonprofits to really, I think their culture, they really need to take a look at their culture right now. And with that mass resignation that's happening, it's impacting nonprofits having to compete for salaries.
Yep.
So I've always been a big proponent, if you will, of that as a nonprofit, we need to pay what a for-profit pays.
Yeah.
Because somebody is in a nonprofit doesn't mean that they should make less. And I feel like that there has to be a shift in that mindset in regard to that as well.
And that's, again, going back to scarcity mindset. That's and I want to say, like, one of the things I work with people on a lot, like when I talk about energy precedes outcomes, I'm like, when this is a Rumi quote, you give from your overflow, not from the depths of the well. And somewhere along the way, we decided that we have to sacrifice ourselves and for others to be better. Like, I can't be doing well. It's not fair. Like like me, meaning me, the greater, like as an industry, we have to sacrifice ourselves, our bodies, our salaries, our peace of mind, our families, in order to create stronger communities, stronger families, when actually the opposite is true. Right. The more that I that's the embodiment. I want to be the model for what the change I seek, not the antithesis, And so when we can say, yes, like, it's okay for us to be paid well, to have a comfortable office space, to because I'm setting that that standard, and that so that other people, because what I saw was people saying, okay, we're going to strengthen families. Meanwhile, everyone's quitting because they don't have any time to care for their own family. And that's out of alignment.
It is.
If you care about families, you care about all families, right? Like your staff to everyone. And then that's alignment,
everybody. Right? And that's life.
And I just had a call before this with, Foster Adoptive Care Coalition. Melanie's been on the podcast, and they were talking about, people in this meeting were talking about, this is the first time I worked for a nonprofit where our priority was the care of me and my family, because, and once we had, then I would be available to my clients. And so much is the opposite. And that's and that's going to hit us in the face of this great resignation.
That's right.
Because they're going to go find somebody who's going to value them and take care of them.
That's right.
And, and so that's the big shift that I see is
huge shift.
Is this idea of like the puritanical sacrificial way, and because hustle is not sustainable, like ease and flow is sustainable, and just like, and creating ease and flow, which seems almost like another language to a nonprofit. It has to be hard and grinding.
Right. And that's ingrained. I think that is ingrained.
It's so deep. It's so deep.
It's so deep. And I think that's I had to work through a lot of that, I think as well. But part of, I think what helped me is I came from the corporate world before I went into nonprofit. So I think that helped me some, because when I will never forget when I started, and I'm just like, I looked around and I thought, what in the world? This is crazy. And then I kind of fell into it though, right? I adapted some of those thinkings, and then I kept thinking, no, this isn't right. And I think that's why Dress for Success really, really touched my heart, because it was about having people to feel good about themselves. And just because they may be coming from a difficult situation doesn't mean they should get their clothes in a garbage bag.
Right.
Doesn't, but they should have that same experience and something beautiful and nice. And it's just like the same type of thing with our team and our staff. And it was just like, we need to, exactly what you said, embody that, then we can have nice things just because we're a nonprofit. But it's not just the nonprofit people thinking that, it's other people think that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has to change. That has to change.
Yeah. I think like COVID really woke us up to events. You talked about events and grants. Like, I think COVID woke us up to like, sometimes we rely on events and grants because we're afraid to ask for money.
Right.
And okay, so those like events disappeared. Okay, we have to reckon with that. And I think the great resignation will be an opportunity for us to reckon with the cultures that we've created, and how can we create a more sustainable culture, energy rich culture, where we are giving from the overflow. We are coming from and we're coming in every day and from this energy rich place. And then if it's not, we get to pause and and do a reset. And instead of like go, we can't stop.
Pause.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the inhale and the exhale, right? Like it's all about, and it's all about the exhale. And they're like, okay, fundraising. Okay. Fourth quarter fundraising. Okay. Now we got to hit the ground running in January. Like, do you though? Like we get to inhale, and we get to pull in some energy and receive, and then we can exhale.
That's right. Mm. Well, one of the things you said that just made me think about with when I was at Connections, like some of our, because we would get all these donations for clothes and all kinds of stuff. So my whole thought process all the time was just give it away. It's okay. And if somebody came in and they needed, more than a suit, give them whatever they need. But it's so funny. People are like, well, no, Kathy, then what if we run low? I said, if we run low, it will always be provided for. And I think that was the one thing that I learned throughout the 23 years is that always being able, exactly what you said, it's being able to shift that mindset of that abundance, but being able to give. Because when you give, you receive, right? And so it's in that giving that then we were always taken care of, always.
Yeah.
In the 23 years, never missed a payroll, which is really unheard of with starting a nonprofit and all the challenges.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
One of my coaches, his name's Dr. Aaron Wilkerson. He says there's feelings and there's facts. And so if you're feeling scarcity, then I bet anybody who's listening to this could write a list of all the times that the money just showed up.
Yeah.
Right? But so you look but you're not looking for that because you have this scarcity mindset. You're looking for, the where it's not. But if you come at it from an abundant, like, when has the money just shown up? Like your payroll, like the dresses, like whatever, it came, and like, oh, right. So maybe I could just believe that it'll be coming.
Right.
And then it's all working out.
Oh, and it goes back to, what were you talking about with the energy? Like, it goes back to that energy, right?
Right.
It goes back to that expectation and knowing and believing that it's going to happen. And it does. We just get all, I think, caught up in sometimes those other beliefs that we have that, come back into our heads.
Absolutely. Yep. And, and that's the thing is, like, you and I, we both do the work on managing our own, right. And so that I can help others. I'm in there doing the work too. Like, I just don't show up and drop this. Okay. Like you and I, we both invest greatly in our personal professional growth so that we can come from that energy rich place.
Right. Right. Because we have to be filled up ourselves.
100%. And I actually, I'm running my course and I intentionally moved it from January to February so I could power down in December, because I just felt like, I just needed that. And I'm not going to be of service being resentful to people, or having to feel like I have to enroll people, and I'm like, then so, okay, let me just power down and then access that energy of contribution, Okay, so we've been going a while. I know.
I love it. This is so great. Thank you.
I love these conversations. And also, I want to just wrap it up here a little bit. Is there anything else that you want to share? Any burning? You don't have to, but if there's anything else you really want to tell the lovely nonprofit leaders listening to this?
You know what? I think that that if I could tell them anything, to follow their heart, to listen, and to take that time every day, and to find that time, preferably in the morning when they first get up, and take that time to sit, to breathe, and to really focus in. And I always like to say, put your hand on your heart, like your right hand and your left hand over, and just breathe deep. And breathe in and just feel that heart, feel your heart, and feel that peace, and to really set that tone for the day. Yeah. And to have that intention and to stay within that peace, and to know, because as a nonprofit leader, we know that you have so many demands and so much that's pulling on you. And to stay, that's one thing that's helped me, is to stay, to stay centered. Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. Even if it's 2 minutes, like 30 seconds, right? Yeah, just, and I do these little meditations in the morning that are around that same, but like really tapping into that and feeling that heart. Okay, so the last question is, now you and I, we live in the same city, we know each other. And, most people know I love karaoke, a little bit obsessed. I make no excuses for my love of karaoke. And so if we wound up in the karaoke bar together, what's your go-to song? Oh my, if we were in the karaoke bar, let me see. My go-to song, Sweet Caroline. Oh, there you go. I love Sweet Caroline. And then I love like the Go-Go's. So like any Go-Go's. Yeah. Like we like any of those. Yeah. Yeah. Bonnie Raitt. Oh yeah, those are good. I like all those. All right. So I'm gonna go sometime. I would love it. Oh my God. That's my thing. That's like my, that's how that's the creative self-expression. That's the, that's when the wild woman gets to come out. So I love it. She's always around a little bit, but she really gets to shine. I was going to say, I think she's around.
Well, Kathy, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. And we will put your contact information in the show notes if people want to reach out to you about joining your program or talking to you about it, or keeping up with what you do. We'll put
Thank
that in the
you.
show notes, and any social links you have, we'll add those as well, so you can get in touch with Kathy. But what's your website real quick, just to
It's
tell people?
kblimpactpartners.com.
Awesome. And this has been another episode of The Influential Nonprofit. Thank you all for being here. And if you want to learn more about growing your influence, you can download my Uplevel Your Influence Starter Kit. Just go to theinfluentialnonprofit.com. It's got all sorts of cool goodies about how to have better conversations, how to understand the mindset of the people you're talking to, so you can get them to do what you want them to do without feeling pushy or rejected. So, all right. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much for having me, Marianne. It's been so much fun.
Thanks.